Boy, oh boy, I think this one is gonna be a fun one. What's up everybody, I'm HoopsandHipHop, you may or may not know me, but regardless, I have got a really fun video for you all today. It's gonna be a little different, but I think it just sounds like a lot of fun for me to do, and also hopefully for you guys to watch. Basically, I've been thinking a lot lately about how this year is going to mark the 10-year anniversary of this YouTube channel, and the fact that I've been doing this for a literal decade is absolutely insane. And between that and the fact that I've been a Pokemon fan since the very beginning, I kind of realized that I've got a lot of just random factoids and knowledge about Pokemon in this here brain of mine, and I thought it would be fun to put it to the test. And the way we're going to be doing that is with this random Pokemon generator I have got on screen, and basically what I'm going to be doing is generating random Pokemon, and whatever Pokemon pop up, I immediately am going to have to give you guys a cool fact about it right off the top of my head based on what I already know. No research or looking anything up is allowed. It's just completely what's already in my brain. This is going to be a little bit of a different video, but I thought it sounded like a lot of fun to not only challenge myself and see what I can come up with right off the cuff, but also I figured it would be entertaining for you guys in one way or another. Either you'll get some cool facts about some Pokemon that you may have not known before, or you'll get to see me fail miserably. That sounds like a pretty good time to me, so without further ado, why don't we go ahead and get started? Okay, so I am gonna go ahead and generate my first Pokemon, and once again, this is all off the top of my head. I will try my best to be as accurate as possible, but it's very possible that I might not be 100% accurate with the facts I give you. I'll try to do my best though, but just keep that in mind. Let's just see how this goes. First Pokemon is Staravia. Do I have a fact about Staravia for you? Let's see. Okay, well, apparently we're off to a bad start because I can't think of anything interesting about Staravia off the top of my head. However, I know I can do this because I did a little practice round before I actually started recording to confirm that I could actually do this. So let's just move forward and generate some other Pokemon. I know we're gonna come up with some good facts. Pokemon number 2 is Pangoro. I actually have a really good fact about Pangoro, and it's that, I believe, once again, I'm pretty sure I'm remembering this correctly, Pangoro was designed by a guy named Hitoshi Ariga, who was brought on during the Pokemon X and Y days to design a few Pokemon, and this guy is actually really noteworthy because he is actually also a prominent Mega Man artist. I believe, I want to say like for the games and maybe the comic books too, but basically he's a Mega Man artist who has designed several Pokemon, and I believe has designed them through the latest generation as well, which is pretty cool. Moving on to Pokemon number 3, we've got Helioptile. Okay, I'm gonna regurgitate a fact about Helioptile that I've talked about in previous videos that I've done in the past, but basically, Helioptile's shiny form, where it's all red and gets this just really red, harsh red color to its body, might look a little jarring when you're just looking at it, but its shiny form is actually in reference to sunburns, because Helioptile and Heliolisk are all about the sun. They get this red color because they got a sunburn. It's a really neat little Easter egg in their shiny form, when otherwise that shiny form kind of just looks a little off, but with the added little bit of context, it makes it pretty cool. Next up is Gallion Rapidash. Do I have anything to offer about Gallion Rapidash? Well, I would say its hair kind of looks like toothpaste. That breaking news. Gallion Rapidash's hair is toothpaste. Moving along, next up we have got Sandygast. Sandygast, we're gonna go to the shiny facts once again. is all black in its shiny, and this is actually a reference, or is inspired by black sand beaches, which do actually exist in real life, some of which are even in Hawaii, where the Alola region is based on, where it comes from, which is another pretty cool shiny color reference. Next up, we have got Venomoth. And I don't really want to reuse a fact that I've recently talked about with Venomoth, about its colors on the back of its wings and its design change. I've already talked about that, so I'm going to go in a different direction with Venomoth and say, courtesy of my good friend Hybrid Hero, because he just talked about this in one of his videos, that Venonat and Venomoth are apparently going to be in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's regional Pokedex, because we saw Venonat in the latest trailer, the second trailer. And this actually means, presumably, that Venonat and Venomoth are going to be in Scarlet and Violet's regional Pokedex, which also means that this is going to be the first time that these two Pokemon will have been in a regional Pokedex since Generation 2 and the Johto games. Every other game, according to Hybrid Hero, I guess, I haven't verified this because, once again, this is coming from him, they've just been featured in the national dex, and that's how you've got them. They haven't been in a regional dex where you catch them in the main story since Gen 2, which is pretty wild. Our next Pokemon we're going to look at here is Mantyke. Mantyke is actually really interesting, and I have a cool fact about it, and it's actually kind of a fact that's a little bit sad and disappointing, and it's that in Mantyke's Pokedex entries, it actually talks about how the pattern on its back, which is a smiley face, differs depending on which region you are finding Mantyke in, kind of like Arbok and its belly pattern. However, this is something that doesn't actually translate into the games because Mantyke, to this point, doesn't actually have any forms with the pattern on its back actually differing between Sinnoh, Unova, Kalos, Alola, etc., which is really unfortunate because I feel like that would make Mantyke just that much cooler. Okay, how do we feel like we're doing so far? Are these facts doing anything for you? Are they kinda garbage? Am I failing miserably? Let me know. I feel like I'm doing decent so far. Next up, though, is Barraclough. I hate this Pokemon so much, but I do have a fact about it, believe it or not. And that is, it's been reported on Bulbapedia, I believe, that Barraclough and its pre-evolution Binacle are actually Imakuni's favorite Pokemon. And if you don't know who Imakuni is, he's a guy that did a lot of promotional type stuff. I believe he worked with the TCG and maybe some of the music for the earlier Pokemon games back in the day. This is what he looks like. He runs around in a jumpsuit. He was involved with Pokemon back in the early days and might still be to this point somehow. I'm not 100% sure, but yes, if I'm remembering this correctly, Barraclough is Imakuni's favorite Pokemon, which kind of checks out if you know anything about Imakuni and how much of an interesting character he is. Okay, we just had Barraclough, and now we've got Finneon. Finneon is really, really interesting. I personally like Finneon a lot, and don't think it's boring or forgettable like a lot of people think, but I'm not gonna help my case for it in this video because I can't think of anything cool to say about it off the top of my head. Okay, we're gonna redeem ourselves with this next one because this next one is Herdier. And even though I despise Herdier so much, I actually have a decent fact about it. And that is that Herdier was designed by Mana Ibe, who is a designer. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, by the way, but she was a designer that was first brought on, I believe, during Pokemon Platinum, and she is actually also the designer of Victini, which is pretty cool. And from Herdier to Swanna, another Unova Pokemon. My fact on Swanna is that you may have not noticed it because it's not really just thrown in your face in the games, but Swanna is actually based on the story of the Ugly Duckling, which is why it evolves from a duck Pokemon in Ducklet, who admittedly isn't that ugly, but yeah, it's still got the duck of like transforming into a swan aesthetic, and that is what Swanna is based on. Next up, we have Nagana Dell. I actually have a couple cool things to say about Nagana Dell. Number one, Nagana Dell was designed by James Turner, who actually just left Game Freak to form his own studio that is releasing his own original game, which is really cool, but also really sad. I'm gonna miss James being a part of the Pokemon team. But on top of him designing Nagana Dell, he also designed the shiny of Nagana Dell, which is in reference to hornets, hence its yellow and black color. Bunnelby. Okay, I have something cool to say about Bunnelby. And once again, it's another shiny fact. We got a lot of shiny facts in this video. Bunnelby, I have a theory that Bunnelby's shiny form is actually its true form. Because if you look at shiny Bunnelby, the brown on regular Bunnelby is replaced with white on shiny Bunnelby, and we all of course know that Bunnelby evolves into Diggersby, which is a normal ground type that uses its ears to dig into the ground, and therefore they're all dirty. And so I personally think that the brown on Bunnelby's ears is simply just dirt, and the shiny Bunnelby that we see is what Bunnelby actually looks like when it's not all dirty. But that is so rare to see because these Pokemon are always digging around in the dirt that the regular form of Bunnelby has become like the shiny variant, because you don't see this Pokemon completely clean and free of dirt very often at all. I think that makes Bunnelby way more interesting and cool, and I guess that was a theory as opposed to a fact, but yeah, pretty interesting. At least I think so. Okay, I think I'm going to do 2 more Pokemon and then we're going to call it good. The first of those is going to be Binacle. We already technically covered Binacle. So the next true Pokemon is going to be Lotad. Lotad is really, really interesting. And the reason why it's interesting is because it, at the time, was actually the very first grass water Pokemon, a Pokemon who had that type combo, to ever exist. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that it's still one of, if not the only Pokemon to have that type combo. I'm pretty sure there's at least like one other Pokemon that has that type combo, maybe, but it is still one of the only ones, which is surprising because it seems like we would have had more Pokemon to have that type combo, but it was the first and is still one of the only. Okay, one more Pokemon and then I think we'll be good, and that final Pokemon is going to be Skuntank. Do I have anything good to say about Skuntank? The final Pokemon of this video is going to be Musharna. Okay, I think I can say something good about Musharna, and that is that Musharna is obviously Gen 5's version of Hypno, because a lot of Unova Pokemon have Cantonian counterparts where they're basically the same Pokemon, and Musharna is basically the same Pokemon as Hypno, with the hypnosis and the dreaming and being based on a tapir and all of that stuff. But Musharna actually goes back, has more to it in its background than just that. And actually, Musharna and Munna have a lot going for them in terms of backstory with previous generations of Pokemon before it even existed, because it has the connection to Hypno and Drowsy, and it also has another connection to Gen 1 in that there's that famous phrase from that NPC right outside of Rock Tunnel where she talks about wanting to see a pink Pokemon with a floral pattern somewhere, which of course Munna obviously has, and that's been brought up a lot of times as like a foreshadowing to Munna or something, which I don't think it is. I think that was like debunked, but it's still a really interesting coincidence and a connection to Gen 1. And then also these Pokemon have a connection to Gen 3 as well, because there's an NPC in Rustboro City in the Devon Corporation that talks about wanting to make a machine that displays Pokemon's dreams, which eventually did happen with the Dream World and the Dream Radar in Gen 5, which Musharna is obviously connected to. So this Pokemon, while not appearing while not debuting until Generation 5, has a lot of connections to some previous generations where it was kind of either foreshadowed or it was randomly connected to older things and older games and before it even actually existed itself at all, which is kind of interesting when you think about it. And with that being said, there you have it, everybody. Those were some facts about some randomly generated Pokemon right off the top of my head, and if I'm being completely honest, I don't think I did as good as I wanted to, as I was expecting. So I'm a little disappointed, but hopefully I still feel like this video is worth it enough to post. If it is, and you're seeing this right now, and you enjoyed watching me squirm a little bit, and maybe enjoyed the facts too, be sure to give the video a like, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and also, be sure to subscribe if you're new for more content as well. I also want to say that I'm doing a giveaway for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and if you would like to potentially win a copy of those games for free, all you got to do is go check out my Spotify, listen to some of my Pokemon remixes there, and for every 3,000 new listeners we get by the time the games come out, I'll be giving away a copy of the games. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I would love to give away a bunch of copies. And it also helps out the channel a lot as well, so it's very much appreciated. With that being said, I will see you guys very soon with another video. So until then, as always, thank you guys so much for watching this one. I really, really appreciate it, and I will smell you guys later.